Welcome to Ask Outrageously, the secret to getting what you really want. Hi, I'm Linda Swindling, and this is Ask Outrageously, the secret to getting what you really want. Have you ever been in the studio audience of a television show? I got to do that. We got to go to the Tonight Show, and I went with a bunch of friends. And out walks the host of the Tonight Show, Jay Leno, and he asks for questions from the audience. Well, I shot my hand up, and guess what? He saw me first. And he said, you, ma'am. And I stood up and I asked Jay the pre-question, the like me question, something so that he would like me, and then I could slide in and ask for what I really wanted. And I said, Jay, what's hard about your job? Thinking he would say, oh, I have to memorize all this, or I have to meet all these new people. I have to be up. That's not what he said. What he said was what Jay should say. He made a joke. He said, well, let's see. I get to meet famous people. I get paid lots of money, and I drive really great cars. The audience laughed. And before I could slide in and ask him for what I really wanted, you know what happened, don't you? Yep. He said, and he turns to someone else and says, yes, you, ma'am. So she stood up as I was sitting down, and she asked Jay for what I really wanted. She said, Jay, can I come down and take a photo with you? And he said, well, sure. And as she's running down, he looks over at me and he can see my face and he knows. He says, that's what you really wanted too, isn't it? And I nod and I start standing up, and Jay does this. She asked, oh my gosh, I felt horrible. Are you feeling horrible for me? I don't feel too terrible. I got a picture with Jay Leno. It was just not the one I wanted. I got one with all my friends, which is great. I kind of even snuck in right beside him. Do you see me right behind him? Some people are just happy to be in the picture. Look, this guy's just smiling, just happy to be with everybody. Now, he doesn't know anyone around him, but he's happy. How do I know he doesn't know anyone around him? That is my husband. Can you believe it? So here I am trying to poke over there, right around Jay's shoulder and be there. He doesn't care. He's just happy to be in it. Which brings us to one of the very important lessons about asking outrageously. What's important to you may not be important to anyone else. It may not be important, but it's important to you. And it's okay to ask for what you really want. So one of the ways to remember to live in the question, to keep asking, is actually an acronym. And the acronym is ASK. So when you are thinking about asking a question, you're in something uncertain, you're remembering to negotiate, you need to ask more. Ask will help remind you what you're asking for. So the A in ask is aware. What are you aware of? What do you want the other people to be aware of? S means seek. What information do you need to seek before you can make a decision, before you can act upon it? And then K. K means no. No, not the entire plan, not everything you're going to do in a negotiation. When you're negotiating, when you're asking for things, just know your next best step, your next question that you need to ask. Let's start with the very first one, which is, what are you aware of? What are you aware of? So you want to be aware in a negotiation. You want to think about, what am I aware of that I could ask for? What am I aware of that the other person may want? And as you're aware, if you see the opportunity, like I did with Jay Leno, and you're first, if you're the first person to spot that, that's the time you want to ask. You don't want to wait until it's perfect and everything's formulated. So 1/3 of us, when we did our research, we interviewed about almost 1,200 people. We did some survey questions and research, and about 1/3 of us have seen something big, something we really wanted. We didn't ask for it, and it went to someone else. So what that means for you is it might be a promotion. It might be an opportunity to go study abroad, go study somewhere else. It might be the opportunity to try something different, maybe to train in something or have a different experience. It might be asking out someone for a date. It might be getting your children to unload the dishwasher. You know, the thing is, if you don't ask, you won't get it. So if that's true, if a third of us have seen something really big, we didn't ask, and it was available and it went to someone else, the question is, why don't we ask? Why don't we ask for what we really want? And what it comes down to is just a handful of answers, really. One is, what if I don't use the right words? What if I say it wrong, right? Or what if I bug the person, overwhelm them? What if they see me, as bothersome? Another one is, what if I look stupid? What if I embarrass myself? And that's a big one, especially if you're in a knowledge field or if you're really trying to make a good impression. What if I look stupid? What if I embarrass myself? And then the big one is what? What if I hear the word no? What if I hear the word no? Would you like me to bulletproof you against this word? No. All right, here we go. Just listen to this. Listen to what I'm saying. No, you cannot have that. No, that's a crazy request. No. What do you mean? No, no, no. All right. Did you survive? You did, right? Pat yourself on the back. You lived through it. In fact, if you aren't hearing the word no, you're not asking for enough. Let me say it again. If you're not hearing the word no, you're not asking for enough. And if you don't risk hearing no, you'll never KNOW. You'll never know whether someone would have given that to you or if there's an alternative, if there's a possibility at all. So when you hear the word no, what should be your next question? Well, first, you want to be respectful. That's very big. You want to be polite. You want to be respectful. You want to let people know, I heard what you had to say. So one of the things you can say is, I heard you say no. I'm aware of it, right? I heard you say no. Can you tell me about that? Can you tell me about that? And then you're going to find out something amazing. Either you're going to find out that someone says, no, I'd never do this. That's good to know. Or they'll say, and they'll start telling you the reasons, and they sometimes will talk themselves into it. Have you ever done that yourself? You start talking and go, wow, yeah, we'd never do. Well, I guess we did do that once. I guess we did it 3 or 4 times. Well, maybe we would do it. But sometimes you'll talk yourself into it, or they will. Also, you might find out some very valuable information. Nope, we can't do that. We can't act on that proposal. We can't take your suggestion right now. No, we are not going to enter into this agreement. Oh, I heard you say no. Can you tell me about it? Yeah, this is not the right time. We don't do that until November. And you think, that's a couple of months away. I can calendar this and call you again. So when you're asking, you're also asking to find out more information. The other thing on aware is be aware of what you want. And what that means is really have an intention that you're going for, have an idea of what you want, and notice what you're thinking. Say, I want at the end of our conversation to have an opportunity to proceed further with this contract. I want at the end of our conversation for me to know more about what you want. Also be aware not just of what you want and what they want, but your reactions. So let's say you're surprised. Let's say somebody's yelling at you. Oh my gosh, you're complaining. Or maybe they just bring you something that it wasn't on your radar screen. It wasn't something you thought about at all. Well, what is your body doing when that happens? I know when I get nervous, my heart beats faster. I breathe a little bit heavier or shallower, I guess, and quicker instead of, I kind of find that, and my stomach hurts. So what is it when you get excited, when you get nervous? What are the body reactions? And all you have to say to yourself is, huh, there I am. I'm breathing really quickly there. Huh. My stomach's kind of hurting. You can also watch the other person. Huh. What is that person doing right now? Oh gosh, face is getting red. Their voice is raised. Wow, they look very uncomfortable. They look uncertain. So you can ask yourself what is going on with you, with that person. And also, that's a surprise. What am I aware about that surprise? Well, I never dreamed we would do that. So part of showing up powerfully, part of knowing what to ask for, part of understanding what's going on is living in that question and figuring out what are you aware of. The second thing, though, is you've got to be aware of how you show up. So not just aware of how they're showing up, but also how do you show up and how are you showing up powerfully? I know when I was a baby lawyer, that's not quite true. I'd been practicing for about 5 years. I had negotiated to be a partner of my law firm. I brought in enough clients, had enough business that I got to be a partner. I was named a partner. And I can negotiate well if I get the name Swindling in a law firm name. Can you imagine? So anyway, in walked a client, and the way I greeted him wasn't powerful. I said, "Hi, Joe Smith. I'm Linda." Hi, Mr. Smith. I'm Linda. Well, Mr. Smith looked at me and he said, "Are you taking me to see the attorney?" And I turned around and did a little, "Well, here I am." And he kind of did one of these. He said, "Miss, I need someone who knows what they're doing, who's more mature than you are. And I've got a serious business problem here." Now, whose fault is that? Is it his that he doesn't know that I'm an attorney, or is it mine? That was mine. That was me. I didn't show up powerfully. I didn't even tell him who I was, did I? So what should I have done instead of Mr. Smith, I'm Linda, and twirling? What I should have said is, "Hi, Joe Smith. I'm Linda Swindling. I'll be your attorney. Let's go back to the conference room." Wouldn't that have made a lot more sense? And it would tell him exactly who I was as opposed to, "Oh, I'm your attorney and I'm Linda," and whatever else. So one of the things to think about is how are you going to make a good first impression so people know that they can trust you? And one thing that you can consider doing is, what do people say when they first meet you? If you don't know, it might be worth your while to go back to someone that's on your team or ask, a friend, "When you very first met me, what was your impression?" And just listen, because here's the thing, if you start hearing the same words over and over again, whether you believe that or not, that's how you're coming across. So often people would say to me, "Oh, you seem so confident." Well, I didn't feel very confident, but it was important for me to learn confidence. So I hung around with someone who was confident. A lot of times too, people will say, "Well, gosh, this person is so high ranking. I don't know that I can talk to them." Or maybe your company culture, your organizational culture is you're very stair stepped. And so when you need to go and talk to a decision maker, it can be kind of intimidating. Just remember, people are people, number one, but two, decision makers have problems and they have problems to solve. So if a decision maker, someone higher up or someone that you perceive as having more authority is actually listening to you, you have some sort of solution. I worked with CEOs almost exclusively for 5 years. And what I found with the CEOs were they did not care that I was a woman. They did not care I was younger than they were. They did not care I didn't have the experience in their business that they did. They knew how to run their own businesses. What they needed was they needed my take, my help, my helping hold them accountable, giving them some ideas on employment issues since I've been an employment lawyer, helping them think through strategy, sometimes just being a listening board. sometimes questioning the answers that they had come up with. But nobody cared about my age. Nobody I worked with, nobody that's a high performing CEO really cares about that. What they care about is, are you bringing something to the table? Are you going to be able to help me? So when you're thinking about not just your first impression, be thinking about what you have innately. Think about what your talents are. Think about what your superpowers are. What is it that's a strength of yours that you can help somebody that they would value? And know what those are. Be able to identify them. Say, I'm really good at follow through. I'm excellent at planning and organizing. I know how to engage others. I know how to deliver. Why is that important? Well, because everybody's built differently, and your superpower may be a little different than somebody else's. So you got to own it. Let's take Zoe, for instance. Zoe is the daughter of a friend of mine. Look at how cute she is in her Batwoman costume. Zoe knows, or at least she appears to know, doesn't she, that she's confident. She's got her own power there in nursery school in her pre-kindergarten class. Look who showed up for that same party where Zoe was dressed as Batwoman, a bunch of princesses. Zoe stands out, doesn't she? Once you know your superpowers and you're okay with them, you'll be shocked at what's possible. You'll be able to say, I do well at presentations. May I do that? Or can I look over the marketing plan before it goes out? That's what I do the best. And amazingly enough, people, once they're aware of your talents and strengths and aware that you want to do something, they'll often be so happy to have you do it. The other thing to be aware of is be aware of, what's a potential problem. So kind of that ledge mentality. What do you need to beware of? Beware, that's good to know. But don't live too long in there, because really most people are fine with making a deal with you as long as you're trying to help them and give them value. The next thing on ask we said was seek. So how do you seek information? How do you seek what you should do next? This could be even like in negotiating change, right? You're aware there's some change. What kind of information do you need to seek? So be in negotiating anything. So one of the questions that often people ask is, where should I work on? What should I work on first? Where should I focus my attention? Well, I have an assessment that you can take for free, and I'll give you a code at the end of this as well. And it's, how well do you ask? Do you make bold requests? Do you make requests on behalf of yourself with the same power and passion as someone else? Do you know that people like and respect you? Are you asking the right people? Do you know your request is appropriate? And are you cool, calm, and in control no matter what happens? Also, do you receive results that exceed what you thought? Know how well you ask. Seek that information, and then start seeking information from others so that you can KNOW, know your next step. So when you're knowing your next step, one of the things to remember in all of negotiations are, you're the driver. You're the driver of your career. You're the driver of what you ask for. You are in the driver's seat, meaning you get to make some decisions on behalf of yourself. And it also means there's going to be some detours, some surprises, some things you didn't plan for. When that happens, go back to your ask. What am I aware of? What information do I need to seek? And what is my next step? What do I know I need to do next? So let me ask you a question. What could deter you or delay you from getting what you really, really want? What is something that could stand in your way for getting something you really want? And if that happens, what are you going to do? So one of the best ways to prepare to ask outrageously, to negotiate better, is to really write down, this is what I want. These are good reasons why I want it. It's worth my time and effort to go get it. So I'm aware of what I want. I'm going to seek some different information. And then, what could happen? What could happen that would make this tough? What would derail me? What would detour me? And when you find those questions, go ahead and write down, this is what I would do. This is what I would do if this happens. Now, what you're doing is not preparing for every disaster or every problem that could happen. What you're doing is you're cleaning your mind and clearing it so that you have some answers, but you can stay present. And when someone surprises you, when you meet with a detour, one of the things you can do is ask a question. When in doubt, you can always go to, what am I aware of? Oh, goodness, what information do I need to seek? Okay, what do I know I need to do next? What's that next best question, that next best thing that I need to try? Also, be thinking about, am I really asking on behalf of myself? Because what we know is most people don't. Most people don't feel comfortable or don't feel as comfortable asking for something for themselves as they do for someone else. In fact, 65% of us would rather ask for someone else than to ask for ourselves. So what's the workaround here? Well, the workaround, the way around it is to think, who besides myself would benefit by me asking? Who else would get something out of me asking? Because, maybe if I ask a stupid question in the board meeting, somebody will feel comfortable to ask their question. Or maybe if I ask for that next opportunity, that ability to serve that type of client, that project, that opportunity to grow, maybe that would allow someone else to also grow. What could you ask and how would it benefit others? And that's often, if you're a servant leader, if you often think about others, sometimes before yourself, that is a way. It's what would be possible for someone else if I made this ask for me. I think probably the best story is when my husband said to my daughter, who we were at a school carnival, and she wanted a pink and purple butterfly tattoo, a temporary one on her cheek. We were at my son's carnival and he was out playing with friends, and my very shy, very reluctant daughter kind of Velcroed herself to her dad and me, and finally saw that booth and said, that's what I want. And she said, you go ask for my face tattoo. And my husband, looked at me giving my motivational speech. You can do it, Taylor. You go get your butterfly tattoo. She had nothing to do with that. So finally, what he did was he leaned in and he said, Taylor, Mommy and Daddy don't want a pink and purple butterfly tattoo on our cheek. If you want it, you're going to have to go ask for it. Well, that child got her little ticket. Her dad says, we will be right here. You go ask, we'll be right here. And you know what? She did. And she came back skipping later. She was so happy. And why was she happy? Well, part of it was she got that pink and purple butterfly tattoo on her cheek. But more importantly, she asked for what she wanted. And in our careers, in our lives, the only person who truly is going to ask and look out for you is you. Now, the person at work that is most invested in your career is you. Imagine if you're a supervisor and you're trying to motivate someone and they never tell you what they want to do. And so you just kind of guess. You have somebody doing presentations that doesn't like them. You have somebody else taking care of the numbers and they don't like that. What if you just let your leader know, or you let a client know, you're exactly the kind of people I like working with? Do you have other people I could work with that are like you? Who else do you know? Try starting to ask those questions because people want to know. People want to help you. The other thing is, this community that you're in right now, These are the only people that know about your job. They know about what you face all the time. These are the people that go, oh yeah, I've had somebody like that. I've had a peer, I've had a situation, I had a client, I've had a vendor like that. Talk to them. Ask them for help. They would love to help you. And if you don't feel like you have a community, you may have to create one. Create a community, find people to go have coffee with. If you're virtual, connect with them on LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn QR code. Link in with me. I'll be part of your community. Sometimes we have to build the community to help us ask and help support us. So to wrap up, you have to ask. You have to be aware of situations. You have to seek more information. You have to seek what you could do and seek how well you do it. And then K, you got to know your next best step. You got to know your next best question. And sometimes, even though you think you blew it, like I sure thought I did with Jay Leno, sometimes you get to ask outrageously again. And remember, asking outrageously is not being obnoxious. It's just asking for a little more than you thought was possible, asking someone to take a little less, but asking outside your comfort zone. Of course, you're going to be polite, but you're going to stretch a little bit and just see what happens. And this time, asking outrageously worked. Jay Leno came to Dallas, Texas, where I live, and he was about to do his one-man comedy show. And we called his three different representatives in his three different offices and said, Jay, Linda really would like a picture with you. Then we posted it on LinkedIn. And we said, Jay, Linda really wants to get a picture with you. Here's what happened. And that's when I got a phone call. And the phone call was actually to my manager at the time, my person managing my speaking business. And it was from Jay's office. And we were asked, is Linda for real or is she a stalker? So that is one thing. Don't be a stalker when you're asking outrageously. But once they were assured that I was okay, I did get my picture with Jay. Not only did I get my picture, I got to go backstage. I got to meet in his green room and we talked. And then I also got to bring my friends. And look at how close Greg is there now. Look at that. That's my husband talking to Jay, and they talked about cars. Isn't that great? So you all ask outrageously. Ask to know. Ask to grow. Ask to meet Jay Leno. You can do this. Go out there. Go ask outrageously. Go get what you really, really want. I'm Linda Swindling. Thank you. To get the free resources and stay connected, all you need to do is scan this QR code. I'm Linda Swindling. Thanks so much for joining us. Get out there. You've got to ask to know, you've got to ask to grow, and you've got to ask to meet Jay Leno. Hey, I'm Linda Swindling. I enjoyed being with you. Go negotiate. Go ask outrageously. Let me know how it goes.